Hi, in the first part of the tutorial we covered the scene setup for our guided tour, and now I shall cover how to make the scripting so that we can go from one point to the other. Let us once again have a look how it will look at the end. We have the button Next, and when we press it, then we go to the first viewpoint, these are oculars. We can rotate around the oculars of the microscope. The center is between the oculars as we set it in the last video. Then we go to the next viewpoint, which is at the revolver when the set of objectives is positioned, and we can rotate around here. And the final viewpoint is where the specimen would be. And we can also rotate on this part. When we press again the next button, we go to the original viewpoint from the far below, and this is the microscope as a whole. So it is also not possible if the camera travels, then it is not possible to rotate. You can rotate only if the camera does not travel. Now let us look at the script. In the script there are some things which are important for you to know, and the other parameters are more technical parameters which you change only if you would like to go in detail. I shall show you here how to change the most important parameters, especially how to add new cameras and new centers. And that's mainly what I'm doing here. So at first we have to declare the game objects. This is the moving camera. Cam0 move is the moving camera, that is the one which we see on the scene, and the other cameras are just to tell the program where to go to the next viewpoint. We in fact do not use them. The centers are the centers around which we rotate the objects and where the camera looks when it is active. So the transition duration is how fast it comes from one point to the other. This is 2.5 seconds now. F, this means the float number. This is not the second, but this is just for the program. Then that's not so much important. Now we go to the start routine, which is executed at the beginning of the program. At first we have to assign to our variables the game objects that we set on the scene in the last video. This is the moving camera, and so it goes also for the other cameras. And we assign also the centers as I said before. It is very good that we, in case that the program does not find some of the objects, then it tells us this was not found, so that we know where to correct easily. The next important thing is that we look with the cameras to our center points. This means camera 0 looks at center 0, camera 1 looks at center 1, and so on. And the final important thing is that we enable just our moving camera, and all other cameras are disabled. This means enabled is false. On the GUI routine, this is graphical user interface routine, we at first set up our button which has the name Next. You can look once again to remind yourself this is the button. When we press this button, we go to the next viewpoint. So let's return to the script. This is our button, and then we have the so-called switch statement, which executes according to the camera. In case we have the camera number 0, this is the cam 0, this is that one. Then we go, we make the transition from 0 to 1. We go to the next viewpoint and so on. The other way would be here not to use the next button, but for example, to have several buttons. One would be called objective, the other would be called ocular, and the final one would be called specimen. And then you would press that button and the camera would move from the current position to the position you would like to. This is the topics of maybe some other script. Here we simply follow a tour 1, 2, 3, 4 as we defined it before. This is the simplest way, and I think it's quite okay for most of the presentations. And when we reach the last camera, then the current center becomes the center 0. This is our overall center, and the camera returns to the original camera. The update routine is called once per frame, like also the graphical user interface routine is called once per frame, but that one is more dedicated to our interaction, to the interaction with mouse and keyboard, while the update routine handles the code that has to be done in order to use the program. Oh, this is more technical. I think I don't need much to explain here on this stage. It is pinch zoom. This is the routine that makes possible the rotation. As you remember, I can show you once again here. If you start it, you rotate around. This is the code covering this. You get the axis of the x-axis and y-axis of the mouse, and then you make some calculations. You take care about the minimal and maximal distance. If you would do also zoom, I don't cover zooming in this script, but this could be also done. Here is the way how in Unity the rotation is done. It is a function that is named quaternion, and you have this way you perform the rotation. This is also just to mention it. It would cover a video of itself to cover this. And the final routine is the transition. This is the routine that covers the transition from the one viewpoint to the other. In fact, we have two objects here, which is one camera and the other camera. We can have a look on where this happens before. You see on the GUI, as I explained a few minutes before, when we go, for example, from camera 0 to camera 1, then we perform the transition routine that the first parameter is camera 0 and the second parameter is camera 1. When we travel, for example, from camera 2 to camera 3, then we have the first parameter camera 2 and the second parameter camera 3. So these are the two parameters. This was, for example, camera 2, camera 3. And it performs the technical part of the transition, so that the delta time that you define with this, we have here above, it was 2.5 seconds, I think. Yes, this is transition duration. This is the basic parameter which you can change so that the camera moves faster or slower. And transition duration, you see, is here. Here it is used. And that's all. We can make smaller this script to see. Oops, now it's too small. It is in fact not very big, but it has some code. So please feel free to use this code and enjoy it. I just show you once again how it looks. To summarize, you can rotate around You can press the next button and then you go to the next viewpoint, which is in this case oculars. The next is objective. And the final one is the specimen. So, that's it. Thank you very much.